fire about 17,000 plus, prisons about 14,000 plus, narcotics control about 3,000 plus. When you put all of them together, they are less than 100,000. They are less than 100,000. But even that, the wage bill on them is about 13 billion. So if the resources were there, I mean, I would have been the happiest person if we were able to recruit about 500,000 more security people. But let's be practical. Will our economy be able to absorb that? We all know that practically that is not possible. If you have a police of 50,000, can you really take 130,000 and add to an existing 49,000? So this is where we find ourselves, and I want to plead with the rank and file of our youth to appreciate that. That's why we introduce a number of other measures that we are hoping into the future may even help us as a way of screening.
And you heard that the Interior Minister Mohammed Muntakar Mubarak, and of course these figures mean that nearly 99% of applicants may not secure a position, highlighting the intense competition for stable public sector jobs in Ghana. I'm joined in the studio now by my colleague Wisdom Staffo. He is with our research desk. And Wisdom, if you first of all can paint a picture for us really about how serious unemployment situation is and why we seem to be having challenge with the current recruitment.
You know, Beatrice, for you to understand this, you have to understand the whole architecture when it comes to Ghana's labor force. We have about 15.43 labor force, and out of these, about 2 million people are unemployed. That means that our unemployment rate stands at 13.0%. If you look at these 15.43 million, about 21.5% are NEET, meaning they are not in employment, education, or training, and they fall within the ages of 15 to 24. That's the category of people who are applying for this service job. And I have to put some
ages of between
15 to 24.
And that is the bracket that
yes.
actually had one of the highest unemployment
exactly.
rate in 2024. Between is it 34 and
21.5%? That's a stance. Those who are the NEET, that they are not in employment, not education or training, and they're also unemployed. Now, if you want to break this down, well, I have to put some caveat here. We are talking about these agencies. This is for interior. So interior is not, we don't include the armed forces. The armed forces fall under the defense ministry. So we are talking about police, immigration, fire service, and the prisons.
Okay.
Now, the figure that you mentioned, the 99%, about 500,000 applicants, and they are all competing for 5,000 slots. Meaning that if you take 100 people, only one person will be selected out of this pool. And it is very concerning. But if you break it down to the various agencies, Ghana Police is the most accessible path. It's the most accessible. And if I tell you the acceptance rate is 2.3%. It means that one position for every 43 applicants. They have 130,000 applying for 3,000 slots. And they are the most accessible path. And look at their acceptance rate, 2.3%, which means that only one position for every 43 applicants. Then if you move on to the immigration service, in fact, this year, the immigration service was the most applied service. About 180,000 people apply for the immigration service for only 1,000 slots. And if you look at the acceptance rates, Beatrice, 0.55%, which means that one position for every 200 applicants.
And if you listen to the Interior Minister at that press conference yesterday, he painted a picture that all the services didn't have as much. You know, we had 20,000, 17,000, 18,000, even one of them 14,000. I think it was the fire service or the prisons.
The fire service.
Yes.
The fire service actually had they are most understaffed.
Exactly, which means that they need the people.
They need the people.
But
you don't have the funds to put them on the wage bill. You know, when as part of the IMF conditionalities, right, we are supposed to cut spending. So you can't be keep on recruiting people onto this security service. And take note, for the past 4 years, we have not done any major recruitment. So there's a backlog. Even this recruitment is for the 2025 year group, not this current year, right?
Yes.
So it means that we have backlogs for over 4 years that we have to put, and about 500,000 people applying, and it paints a picture of how dire the situation is.
The minister has been criticized for the comment he made, but again, he talks about the and just to put it on record, in case you didn't have the opportunity to listen to the minister yesterday, more than 500,000 people applied. But after going through the scrutiny, about 105,000 people remained who are expected to go through medicals. Again, out of the 105, only 5,000. It boils down to still the number of 5,000.
So for that figure, the 500,000 that actually went, there were people who had to be disqualified because of documentation, because of their height and their physical outlook. But when that number was saved, we had around 400,000 people that were already qualified, leaving 400,000 people to take the aptitude test. So maybe after aptitude test, we are having around
the 105,000.
105,000 to go through the screening, which is the medicals.
I will come back to you, Wisdom, just to get your final thoughts, really, based on what people are saying regarding even the proposal of the minister that these 100,000 left, they are keeping their data, and then the next one, because this is supposed to be the first phase of this recruitment exercise. I will come back to you very briefly to get your thoughts on what people are saying, really, on this very proposal from the minister. But we're joined on the phone by Mr. Emmanuel Kuting. He's a security analyst. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Beatrice.
You must be alarmed as well as a security expert to hear that we were trying to deal with the unemployment situation, and yet we seem to have gone back to square one because we could only pick just 5,000. How do you interpret what's going on?
In fact, being alarmed is an understatement. In fact, if you look at what we are currently graph country, youth unemployment remains one of the most single national security challenges a country will face. And your reporter mentioned about the backlog.
Mr. Kutin, I'm sorry, we're losing you because your line is so clear. We'll be grateful if you would reposition yourself. Whilst you try to do that, I want us to listen to the national chairman of the governing NDC, Johnson Asiedun Katia, saying the party's leadership is engaging the Ministry of the Interior to help resolve challenges surrounding the recruitment into the country's security services. Please hold on for us whilst you try to reposition yourself. Let's hear Asiedun Katia.
Recruitment ade ho asem enokre yetu yeguso a ye ni minister no kasa ewo ho na ade no minister no so ocheche niema bi mu a echese ono so na adwuma no ede ifri say ye bie kwan say ye mfa police fo no nipa apply no Ghana nyina na yebo 500,000 a obi pe police ako 500,000 obi pe police ako enti wo fa nipa 500,000 police mu a na nipa say na be ka say police for no kwa akochi wo Nipa say ya kwachi wo nyina ya fa wo police no say afa e mo na kwachi wo 500,000 Anna minister no so he ne nkontamu no na nipa sika ho de wo ho a yebetimi afa wo mo apia wo mo ka ni anya stations ya ma wo mo akoya adwuma no 5,000 pe.
And you heard the national chairman of the governing NDC, Johnson Asiedun Katia, of course, interpreting or telling the grassroots members what the situation is, saying that the numbers are large, but the government, because of the current economic conditions, can only take about 5,000 out of the 500,000 individuals who applied for various positions within the various security agencies. Mr. Kutin, you're still on the line with us. Hopefully the line is clearer this time around. Please continue with your submission earlier.
In fact, Beatrice, thank you for having me once again. In fact, what the chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Asiedun Katia, says is not funny at all. This has been one of the primary challenges with our recruitment processes under the fourth competent constitution. And you see, we have weaponized the system and politicized it. You see, we have to go back and speak to their base because certain promises were made to them that we will recruit them in security services. As a country, we are failed in our job creation opportunities. That is where we are today. Because if government was intentional, and it is tried knowledge that government cannot even employ 30% of what we produce. What government ought to do is empower and give the enabling condition to the private sector to thrive and then absorb these cleaning needs. Also look at the entrepreneurial ecosystem where these youth can be given skills and they can apply these same skills given that we are in the technological world, then they can make good use of whatever is available to them. Today, Beatrice, many people are running virtual offices because of technology, but we are not making good use of that. The critical point here is our educational system. No, we were colonized by the British. Did they run the kind of educational system we are running? It's just in West Africa here you see this SS system. And we train more graduates than we need. And we have weaponized our educational system in the lens of politics. While some is looking for accessibility, another is looking for quality. So it goes to the fore that we are not intentional with our national development policies. There are certain policies that should predate presidential term limits. So as a country, we can all rally behind it and make sure it is part of our strategic development planning moving forward. In the absence of all this, this is what we are having. I will use your medium to urge the government. They are saying that over 500,000 of youth apply for these security slots. The form was sold for 250 Ghana cedis. Multiply 250 Ghana cedis by 500,000. That's 125 million Ghana cedis. Where did this money go to? How was this money applied? Are we not committing? Is the state not committing a crime against these vulnerable youth? These people are putting their lives to serve their country. Why should they have to buy forms to serve their country? Why should other jurisdictions are even incentivized? So we must look at our recruitment regime, especially the immigration. How do you have 1,000 slots and you sold 180,000 forms? That is a serious crime that should be looked at. We have these cadet corps around the country in our secondary schools and in our universities. Let's go back and look at the rationale these cadet corps were put in place. So they should even be the first point of the skills. They are looking at the skills. So as a country, this is what we are heading to is not pretty at all. We have to remove the nuances of propaganda, the nuances of politics, and treat this issue as a serious national security matter. The other issue I want to use them to raise is that they should decentralize the process of the recruitment as the Interior Minister did. It always leads to political patronage. We can have a politician managing our security sector recruitment, or we have sector agencies. It's not done anywhere. Now, the issue about the AI, when you use AI, which I support the AI, 100%, because it removes the human face, one, and it leads to a situation where we had in the past where questions were leaked before they start for the exams. And secondly, we are in the era of AI. There's nothing we can do about it. We should rather institutionalize it and make our youth get exposure to it so that they can use it responsibly. So if you use AI to do aptitude tests, at the close of the test, AI should be able to tell you, you should know there and there whether you have passed or you have not passed. But when you use AI in one brain, and another brain you want to use human interface, what does it bring? doesn't take into speculation and the kind of political patronage that has only bedeviled the entire process.
I'm sorry, we'll have to end it here. And that was Emmanuel Kuting. He is a security analyst. Wisdom, very briefly before you go, I was asking you about what people are saying about the proposal of the minister that the 100,000 remaining, the government is going to keep the data and subsequently prioritize them during the next phase of recruitment.
Beatrice, one aspect of the whole recruitment process we are not discussing is the cost factor. Look, these people have bought forms. 500,000 people have bought forms around 200 Ghana cedis. If you multiply this, you are getting about 100 million Ghana cedis in just recruitment forms alone. And take note, even after recruitment forms, you pass through the first, second stage, you have to do your medicals. You have to bear the cost of your medicals.
Well, the medicals will be for the 100,000.
Yes, so let's say we are doing medicals for maybe 1,500 cedis. That's huge amount of money.
Well,
so all the money that has been spent, what is happening to it? What benefits are they getting from it?
Indeed.
So if you don't solve the structural issues, okay, we don't solve the issues of unemployment from the base, from the roots, then it will just be a roller coaster. We just go back to the same problem.
Thank you very much, Wisdom Safo. He is with our research desk. Now, the National Labour Commission has called on the leadership of the Civil and Local Association of Ghana, CLOGSAC, to call off its ongoing strike and appear before the Commission next week, Wednesday, or have themselves to blame. Leadership of the association on Wednesday, March 11, reportedly boycotted a meeting with the National Labour Commission over the ongoing strike. The strike follows years of delays in fulfilling a memorandum of understanding signed with the government in 2019. Among its key demands, CLOGSAC is calling for the immediate adoption of a new salary structure agreed upon with the government, in addition to rectifying long-standing agreed upon improved working conditions. Now, following its refusal to appear before the NLC, the Commission has subsequently rescheduled the meeting, giving the association another opportunity to appear before it on Wednesday, the 18th of March. Let's speak to our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku, who joins us live on the line. Daniel, I know you've spoken to Madam Beatrice Adu, but first, if you can help us understand the meeting of the executives. We understand it's underway. What have you gathered so far?
Right, so currently the National Executive Council and the other leadership of CLOGSAC are in the meeting, trying to deliberate on whether to call out the strike or to still proceed with the strike. But what I've been able to pick is that there's a possibility that CLOGSAC will proceed with the strike and also escalate the strike to nationwide demonstrations. That's what they are deciding to do as I speak to you. So the entire region is here. You have representatives of the national leadership of CLOGSAC in the meeting currently, and hopefully, ideally, people would have expected that CLOGSAC would have called off the strike, but the understanding we have is likely to proceed and also escalate with nationwide demonstrations. Because yesterday, when they went to a meeting, they were expecting government to have submitted to them a statement or a document indicating payment schedule. But unfortunately, that document did not come as I speak to currently. It's the reason they have taken this position.
And what you're saying is that there's a possibility after this meeting, members would continue with the strike?
There is. They will continue with the strike because they believe that government, somewhere has shown sparks of bad faith. Because yesterday, after the meeting, they were told we were going to receive a document. The document was going to detail whether indeed the grievances have been resolved or not, or when government will be issuing payments. That's when the various payment schedules will be made available. But unfortunately, as I speak to you currently, they have not received the statement. And the reason the national leadership has taken a firm conclusion collectively that there's a need for them to proceed with the ongoing strike until government listens to their cry.
Thank you very much, Daniel Opoku. And Daniel Opoku is our Labour Affairs correspondent. He earlier spoke with the Executive Director of the NLC, Dr. Beatrice Adu, who expressed disappointment as well in the conduct of CLOGSAC.
We expected them to come, but they didn't come. And they never also gave any excuse or any reason why they didn't come.
But I saw the head of civil service and also the federation within your meeting. What did you discuss with them?
Right. So the head of civil service represented the employer, that is government, and he was accompanied by officials of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. You know that in the first letter that we wrote to them, we asked them to appear. First to rescind the decision, that was on the 5th of March, and to appear. So today, because they didn't appear and they are still on strike, you know, when a party is on strike or has instituted an industrial action, the substantive matter cannot be heard. The first one said it constituted an illegality if they embark on it. Now the declaration has been made, which is a kind of ruling that the action that they've taken is illegal. And so we are moving step by step.
So you'll give them a second chance to appear before you or someone else?
Yes, so they've been asked to call it off immediately and appear next week, Wednesday.
In case government is able to finalize their issues with them and conclusions are reached, will it be necessary to appear before the commission?
Once you've been summoned, you have to come. And if you have resolved, then you come and announce it. So you can't say that you are staying out. So you have to come and say that, yes, we have resolved it, and that is it.
Them not appearing before you, would you describe that as matter of bad faith?
Well, you know, the commission has been established by law to deal with these matters. And so you are under obligation once you are invited to come, and you have to appear. But then they decided not to come without any reason.
And you heard there Dr. Bernice Warbeck. She's the Executive Director of the National Labour Commission, the NLC. Let's stay on the labour front because the leadership of the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana has expressed strong dissatisfaction with a directive from the Ghana Education Service instructing teachers who have gone without salaries for 14 months not to stage a picket at the services offices. Now, the association says the directive is unfair and insensitive to the plight of the affected teachers. The leadership says it will now intensify its efforts to demand the immediate payment of the outstanding salaries from government. The association has also rejected the government's explanation that the affected teachers were not granted financial clearance, describing the justification as unacceptable. The president of the association, King Ali Adu, made these remarks whilst addressing a news conference right here in Accra.
I'm not saying it should be disregarded. I mean, we are employees of GES. And those teachers, though GES have not paid them, are still employees of GES. So GES is saying that they should stay in the classroom. They shouldn't come out to do those picketing and all that. Well understood. They are our members. We have asked them to stay in the classroom. We have decided that the union shouldn't come in because when the union comes in, it is going to be on a larger national scale. But now GES is saying that they should stay in the classroom. We have asked them to stay in the classroom. The unions are now going to take it from his bed and issue the fiat that henceforth, when teachers are recruited and their arrears accumulate, they should be paid only 3 months. That fiat that Honorable Setepe issued made teachers to accumulate huge arrears. At the end of the day, somewhere in March 2016, the unions agitated, and the then Minister for Employment, Honorable Harun Edrisu, through the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, established what they call validation under the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to validate those teachers before their arrears are paid to them. At the end of the day, a new government came in 2017 when far majority of the arrears have not been paid. The new government christened the arrears legacy arrears. As we speak, there are thousands of teachers that Setepe's fiat affected, and as we speak, their legacy arrears have not been paid.
And you heard that King Ali Adu, he is the president of the association currently protesting, Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana. We move to the Ashanti region now, where we understand that about 13.3% of the population is living with kidney disease, and that's coming from the Ghana Kidney Association. Even more worrying is that many people are living with the condition without knowing their status, increasing the risk of severe complications. This comes as the world marks World Kidney Day today, the 12th of March. My colleague William Evans Inkom has been following this development. He joins us live on the line. William, what do the numbers look like?
Well, Beatrice, so we are talking about 13% of the population, and currently we are approximately 35 million. So if you are to do a simple mathematics, striking 30% from the approximately 35 million people who live in Ghana, then we are talking about an excess of 4.5 million. That's quite staggering. So that is the situation. But the nephrology unit of the Companionate Teaching Hospital will further break it down to ratio. And here we are talking about 7 out of every 10 people we see on the street having the kidney complications. Beatrice.
That's quite serious. And the age groups?
Well, so the age group, it doesn't really matter at what age one can contract the disease. What is even worse is the fact that a lot of people are oblivious to the fact that they currently do not even know their status. But the head of the nephrology unit of the Companionate Teaching Hospital, Professor Beatrice Adu, has been giving us some level of explanation.
I'm sorry, we don't have that, but what more can you tell us before we wrap up?
Well, so what she mentioned, or revealed, was the fact that there are lots of people who are getting the complication, especially those who resort to personal medication instead of consulting a physician in that order. And those are people who risk getting the kidney disease.
And we'll bring you that sound later. Thank you very much, William Evans Inkom. He is my colleague in the Ashanti region. And that's it for the midday news here on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to shrinews.com for more news. Good afternoon.